Imagine this. You are driving home from a doctor's appointment. You start to feel shaky. Your vision blurs. You start slurring your words. Before you can even explain what's happening, flashing lights in your rearview mirror. You are handcuffed, charged with DUI, and you have not had a single drop of alcohol. This is not fiction. It happens more often than you think. And today, we're talking about what you need to know if a medical crisis is mistaken for drunk driving. Hi everyone, I am Marc Lopez, criminal defense attorney. A lot of people think DUI charges only happen when someone is actually drinking. But the truth is, medical emergencies can mimic signs of impairment, confusion, slurred speech, balance problems. These are all the things police are trained to associate with intoxication. And unfortunately, that can lead to wrongful arrests, criminal charges, and serious consequences. Let's look at two recent examples, one in Tennessee and one in Texas, where this actually happened. The first case involves Dean Binkley, a retired sheriff's deputy from Tennessee. On August 7th, 2024, he was pulled over because troopers thought he was impaired. But what was really happening was a diabetic crisis. His blood sugar had crashed, causing slurred speech, confusion, and even had trouble standing up. Despite not having any alcohol or drugs in his system, he was arrested and charged with DUI. It took weeks before those charges were ultimately dropped. And now Dean is suing the Tennessee Highway Patrol. Here is why this case matters. Tennessee actually passed a new law to help increase transparency after hundreds of sober DUIs were exposed. Since 2017, more than 600 people in Tennessee were arrested while completely sober. That wasn't a one-off mistake, it's a pattern. Case number 2, Stephen Burrows in Deer Park, Texas. In October 2024, Burrows was pulled over after he drove on the wrong side of the road. Officers claimed his eyes showed signs of depressant use, but Burrows said he was having a diabetic episode. He'd simply forgotten to take his medication. In Burrows' case, the blood test came back completely negative for drugs or alcohol, but he was still charged with DWI, as is known over there in Texas. The charges were not dismissed until January 8th of the following year. That's months of stress, court appearances, reputational damage, all for something that was not a crime. This shows just how easy it is for medical symptoms to be misread as intoxication and how long it can take to fix it. Okay, let's talk about the legal reality behind cases such as this. Police officers are trained to look for signs of impairment. Weaving in a road, your wheels touching the yellow line, slurred speech, glassy eyes, stumbling, off balance, the failure of field sobriety tests. Now, those signs of impairment are also often seen in somebody having a diabetic episode, seizures, head injury, even a panic attack. But most state laws do allow an officer to make an arrest for somebody who's showing signs of impairment, even if their blood test comes back 100% clean. And even if those charges are ultimately dismissed down the line, the reputational damage to a person is already done. And they're talking about arrest records, booking photos, suspended license, court dates, hiring an attorney. It's also stressful and embarrassment. Nobody likes having their mugshot blasted across Facebook or printed in the local newspaper. That stuff's not fun. And this is not rare. Tennessee's investigation alone showed hundreds of sober DUI arrests. That means anyone with a medical condition that mimics impairment is at risk. And I want to let you know, anyone thinking, well, what is the option? Let them just drive away? No, of course not. If an officer comes to a scene and sees somebody who is having some sort of episode, but they can't tell if it's alcohol or drugs, there's lots of options. They can, number one, take them to the hospital, have their blood drawn there and say, hey, listen, when the blood comes back, you may or you may not be arrested and charged with DUI. Have a great day. That happens a lot. That happens a lot in Indiana. We also make arrests for sober people here in this state. But we do see where officers have conflicting information. They'll actually make the decision to charge an arrest later, which is awesome because, again, no one wants to go through embarrassment, all the horrible things that go on just because an officer thinks a person might be impaired, even though there's no alcohol or drugs present or even mentioned in the system. Keep that in mind. We don't have to make arrests every time there's bad driving. There's other options available. However, too many states jump the gun and file charges merely on the officer's suspicion alone. I'm not saying officers are always wrong, but simple suspicion shouldn't be enough to basically upheave someone's life and cause them absolute chaos. Think about that. Now, what to do if this happens to you? If you have a medical condition that could be misread, you can and should prepare in advance to protect yourself. Here's how. If you are driving and you feel symptoms starting, pull over safely and call for help. Do everything you can to avoid a traffic stop if possible. Everything you can to avoid police interaction. Feeling lightheaded? Feel like your vision's going out a little bit? Feeling a little bit weird? Pull over. Don't put anyone else at risk, including yourself and others on the road. Try to avoid officer interaction. Number 2, carry medical documentation. We're talking about prescription information, diagnosis information, if you have a medical bracelet, even a simple card in your wallet. Having that information available can be the difference between an arrest and a medical response. Here in Indianapolis, they have a blue envelope program. While it's targeted towards people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, anyone who has medical conditions that could mimic intoxication should have that envelope and literally put inside prescription information, diagnosis information. There's a little spot to say on there, my name is, I have medical condition of, please be aware of. That's awesome. Even if where you live does not have a blue envelope situation going on, you can create your own envelope. In that envelope, put in there your diagnosis, your prescription information you want the officer to know. Hey, I am diabetic, I take medication, but it's not always 100%, which is true for anybody who takes medication. Never 100%. If you are pulled over, obviously you're going through some sort of medical situation, be polite to the officer. They're just doing their job. Now, you have to give your driver's license, or in many states, your name, address, date of birth, and that's it. Now, please, if you're going to comment, Marc Lopez, we have the right to travel. You don't have to have any of that. Just stop. You have to have a driver's license to drive a vehicle on the roads legally. Please, if you're going to put on there right to travel, just stop. No, you're wrong, and I'm going to shut you down. Now, while I do not advocate explaining yourself generally when you are pulled over, I plead the fifth. Here's my information. I plead the fifth. I don't answer questions. I would advocate if you are having a medical situation, simply state, I am having a medical issue and I need medical attention. State it just like that. You have that envelope, hand it to them. When you say, I'm having a medical issue and I need medical attention, most officers that I've come across are going to say, let's get the ambulance here. Let's get the EMT here. I don't want to be responsible for someone dying if they told me they have a medical issue. Now, this is definitely abused. I've seen it be abused, and I was a prosecutor. Seen it be abused as a defense attorney. But most officers are going to go above and beyond to try to get an ambulance there if the person's totally just not blowing smoke. So keep that in mind. Now, you can go one step farther and simply say, officer, I'm requesting a paramedic. I need medical attention. Now, a lot of officers have first aid training. Quite a few officers where I practice have EMT. They actually draw blood, phlebotomists, whatnot. But they're not medical professionals in that sense. So most officers are going to say, okay, let's get the medical professionals here. Number 5, document everything. As soon as you are out of jail, as soon as you are able to write down what happened, times, symptoms, what happened, get all the information to your attorney. I mean, I'm serious. Anything you think would be helpful, any medical information you think. Number 6, call an attorney as soon as possible. Sometimes people who've had medical situations that led to a DUI arrest, they're just like really upset that they have to hire an attorney because I'm innocent. I should be able to just come to the prosecutor's office and hand paperwork and they should be able to figure it out. Prosecutors, the government employees, they're not trying to go above and beyond. They're trying to do as easy a job as possible. Officer said you were DUI? Guess what? You're DUI. You have to have somebody advocating for you. And what you don't want is to give them information that could make things more complicated. You can get a DUI on prescription medication. You can. You don't want to hand them a file that says, hey, I'm on antidepressants, I'm on this, I'm on this, I'm on that, and I'm also diabetic, because they can use some of those medications to bolster a DUI case. Just be careful handing documents over. You want to get those to your attorney. Attorney can reveal what is necessary for your defense, not anything else. Super important. Now, you might be saying to yourself, I don't have no medical issues. What do I care about all this? Even if this never happens to you, here are a few things worth knowing. Just in case. You have the right to remain silent, and you have the right to an attorney. Use them. Understand your state's implied consent laws. If an officer tells you, hey, I have probable cause to believe you operated a vehicle while intoxicated, I now must offer you a chemical test. Basically, they're telling you, hey, listen, we need your blood or breath because we think there might be a DUI. Now, if you refuse the blood or breath, well, some states like Indiana, they're going to get a warrant. They're going to get it anyway. Other states, they may not do that, but your driver's license is inevitably going to be seriously affected. So you want to research and know your state's implied consent law. I've already talked about this, but have a medical envelope in your car with diagnosis, prescription information, in layman's terms, what you believe you suffer from. You also want to know your state's legal standard for impairment. It's not always just a 0.08 breath test, but signs of impairment alone can be a basis for a DUI. You don't always need a blood or breath test to prove a DUI. And lastly, if this happens to you, you want to know how to get it off your record when it's dismissed. whether that's expungement or sealing, you don't want this to follow you around. Keep that in mind. Now, we've looked at two real stories, two real people who were arrested for DUI while actually suffering from medical emergency. They were sober, but it did not matter. The law doesn't always account for medical reality in the moment, and that's why knowing your rights and being prepared is so important. So, here's my thing. If you've watched this video this long, you must like me, you must find this information valuable. We try to release these national videos every Tuesday. I sure would appreciate it, number one, if you liked this video, and I really want you to leave a comment. If you're thinking to yourself, Marc Lopez, I don't know what to write, here, I'll tell you. Hey, Marc Lopez, good job. Or, conversely, if you say, hey, Marc Lopez, terrible job, write that too. I don't like terrible job comments, but I really do read every single comment. I try my best to respond. I got a lot of stuff going on. I got a 3-year-old. He's wild, absolutely wild. But I do try to respond to comments, and I read them almost every morning while drinking coffee, and I smile. I literally have a smile on my face. If you've been charged with a crime here in the great state of Indiana, give me and my law firm a call, 317-632-3642. We will love to talk to you about your options. Most importantly, I want you to remember to always plead the fifth.